Right. The summoning of the corgi gets me every time.
It really does. Every single time I'm laughing. It's not fake. I'm really laughing. Hi, everybody. I'm Chris.
I'm Jordan with PDQ.com.
Yeah, welcome to the show. Today we're going to be talking about questions that you bring and the answers that we might have.
Hopefully.
That's the idea?
Yeah. We're hoping for a lot of answers and not a lot of stump.
Yeah, but as with most stumps that I have dealt with recently in recent years, just got to remove them. Anyway, let's just dive in and get some questions.
All right.
So, go.
All right.
Dear Chris and Jordan, Firefox package disables auto updates for users. How can I enable it back without making it a standard package? Thanks, Faizan N.
Hello, Faizan.
All right. So I think there's two options.
Sure.
Basically for this one. There's one is you could put a post step that re-enables it, but then you're turn it off and turn it back on that way.
Okay.
The other one is you would have to change I forget the name, but the file that pulls all the settings in, but you'd have to change it every time you download the package, which also kind of defeats the auto download.
Can I give option the third?
All right.
Firefox in recent year, within the last year I believe, they released their ADMX, the Active Directory Group Policy templates. So if you Google for them, like would you mind, Firefox Group Policy, and I'll show you where these are at. Yay! Customizing Firefox using group policy. It's here. Here we go. The ADMX templates for Firefox are available for download here. So you can actually go get those and manage those, including that setting that for the auto download, and you can manage it from the group policy level, which, as we often refer to here on the webcast, if you can do it via group policy, you probably should, because it does a really good job.
Yeah, group policy has been around for a long time because it works.
That being said, the other option Jordan did mention is one I have used in the past. If I switch over to deploy here, just to show you a quick one, that's Adobe Flash. If you were to go download, where are you, Mozilla, just type it on the keyboard here, Mozilla Firefox. What he's talking about is adding a post step to modify the file that's called, I believe, what was it, policies.json. So if you open that up, it's that fifth step.
Yep. Yeah, the fifth step there.
Yeah, we'll get that in. Sorry. There we go. It is this section that's actually copying that file, as well as we're including it from the repository. So it's basically saying, take this file, copy it to Program Files, Mozilla Firefox distribution, and life is good. Now, the great thing about this, the file will exist now after step 5 and it's copied. What you can do, and again, I've done stuff like this before, is create a post step, and I probably you as well, big PowerShell fans. You can use PowerShell commandlets to get that information, manipulate the file, and output it back to file again. So in the case of that file where we had that policies.json, this would be as simple as, well, actually, let me browse to it. We'll do this simple as, we're doing it live, folks, so.
This never goes poorly.
Thank you.
Ever.
That is wonderful confidence we got going on here. So in here, there's the policy.json. I am just going to copy that just to move it to an easier to navigate location. We'll do temp. Cool. I'm just going to show you how to do this in PowerShell, and then you can do the PowerShell step to do this, and then just kind of roll it out. So in PowerShell here, I'm going to show you the contents of that JSON file. Okay, so hey, corgis are awesome. They still are. Wonderful. Just in case you hadn't noticed. There it is.
I'll never get rid of it.
No. So git, wow, are you not typing? You're not typing. Git, content, ctemp, what was it, policies? Yes, so right there, the option that we're looking at is this disable app update true, because we set that policy file, putting in that it's effectively doing the group policy type of mechanism that Firefox used to do once upon a time. Yay. Here, you just have to do some file manipulation. So in this case, if I was to take that same, hit the up arrow key, get that same command, I'm going to pipe that to select string, and I'm going to use a pattern. In this case, I'm just going to take this specific pattern, including the comma, right click to copy, move back over here, Control V to paste. That's the pattern I'm going to look for. I'm going to hit enter. Great, it found the pattern. What do I want to do? I want to do the inverse, which is not match, I think. Yeah, so then it gets what is in the file that does not match that, and then you can just output this file, pipe that to out file or set content. Just be aware that send content does lock the file. Anyway, use that in the post step, and you can get that file after being copied over in that step 5 of the package, was it? Yep. And then here in step 1, you could basically do that get content, points to the program files directory, which you could use the environment variable here for that, which is dollar, not nev, env program files, tab completion. There you go. Then you can use that rather than the in the batch thing. Anyway, I wanted to show that because it's something that I've encountered myself personally. So, anywho,
Okay.
won't say that. Kind of cool. Nice question though.
Yep.
Hey, Chris and Jordan, can you explain the wake tool process? I'm curious about the sent via column. The fabulous Valerie B.
Excellent question.
Yeah, so that's one. I believe it sends it from additional machine because it needs the magic packet to come from, not the source, for it to work properly. I'm not sure the exact technical behind it. I just test it, not the reasons.
Well, one of the features that we have inside here is what is it called? Where is it? Where are you? Where am I? Has to do with distributed wake on LAN, and I'm poking through here because I don't remember exactly where you are. Colby, do you remember where this is at? So I don't look like too much of a fool.
I'm not exactly sure what you're looking for. I don't think we have any settings to control distributed wake on LAN.
I could be living a fantasy and remembering things really wrong. It's been a long time since we had distributed wake on LAN in here. So the whole idea is to be able to traverse separate subnets that most people at the firewall level or at the switch level, they block magic packets to do wake on LAN. And so we're trying to give it an easier way within your environment to do wake on LAN across that. And so we basically say, hey guy in inventory that is over there, or hey gal, PC, yeah, we'll go grab that machine, and it'll then in turn generate the magic packet from that machine. And so if I generate this, and if you go watch the webcast from I think a couple weeks ago that I was in, one of them, I actually did demonstrate that. I think it was the new Inventory 17, yay, webcast. I do show that particular feature in action, and it just basically shows that when I try and wake a machine, which I don't have here available because all these are all online, or the ones that are offline don't exist. Mm-hmm. But if I was to go do tools wake, what'll happen is it'll say sent via, and if it needs to be sent via someone else, it'll show a different machine than the current machine that you're on. Mm-hmm. So in this case, we're on a machine called Guinness. It'll probably just say sent via Guinness. If it needs to traverse those boundaries, it'll probably say sent via someone else on that subnet. And then you could actually get it to broadcast from there and thus wake it up effectively without having to manipulate your firewall rules or however your internal network is set up. Does that sound about right?
Yep.
Cool. Anything else to add? I mean, I'm kind of talking. Yeah.
Dear Chris and Jordan, can you set up email alerts through PDQ Inventory? If so, how? Sincerely, Marky Mark K.
Good question.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. If you're running a report or any sort of a test there, you just have to set up the mail settings.
Excellent.
Options, preferences. I set this one up beforehand, but as long as you know all your information, you can just set this up and send a test. If your email is working, then if you're running a report, which I don't think we have one built, we'll do that real quick.
Yeah, we can do that. It's easy.
Test, because I have all kinds of originality. All right.
Move over here.
Okay. There we go.
Bring it down a little bit.
Done. Okay.
Yep.
Just run once, and so in here you have the reports that you're running.
Yay.
And you have in here the mail tab where you just have to specify the to address, and as long as you have the mail settings set up, that will email all the reports that you need, I guess, where they're going.
So wait, I could email my Corgi with the auto report that I generated?
If your Corgi has an email address.
He does.
All right, then yes, you can.
I wish I were joking.
After he's done with his scotch and cigar. Pitter patters on the keyboard.
If he just wants to make sure that the environment's working up to his standards.
Cool.
Yeah, and then there's the same thing for deploy where you have after deployment notifications. You just do have to go into, there's an actual, I guess I'll
show it.
Show that here.
Prove it.
The deploy, once you got down here on the bottom, the notifications. Where's
excellent.
It says currently don't send. If you have to come in and configure those. So center all those again.
Yeah, we gotta get over here.
It's thinking.
It's a fun one. We love how sometimes Windows like to pop up over there.
So you do have to just come into the report you have, edit that, and add where you want it to go in the 2-line there.
Can you bring it down?
And now my not straight line is not accurate. So just there, just put the 2-line there, and then you can also get the same email reports for deployments.
Good. But yeah, you can generate these emails for this. For, hey, things happened, or my deployment was successful or not successful. Ooh, it's exciting.
And we have another question from Marky Mark K. We like to call that a twofer. guys. Is there a way to automatically back up a scan profile of machines before the next scheduled scan overwrites it?
I'm making some assumptions here. I'm not quite sure what you mean by backup of scan profiles of machines, because scan profiles in inventory are a definition of what scanners we're going to use to pull data from a machine. It's up here in the options, scan profiles. We got it here, and I can define that. By default, we have several that are available, including standard, and it has these here. If you're talking about, which I don't think you are, but if you're talking about these, you can select one or multiple and export these. But if you're talking about like the actual scan data itself, you might be better served by what the question you were asked before with the auto reports maybe, and actually scanning the data, generating a report for the data that you want, and then having that data email you or save to a file somewhere, and then next time it pulls in data, you'll have a point of reference that you can compare. Yep, is that kind of how you took that?
Yeah, I took it more as the scan data, and I think by default it will overwrite the existing file for the scan, but you can make it so it doesn't. It'll just create a bunch of files for you to work off of.
Cool. But let us know in chat if we misinterpreted this, though. We're going to have our fabulous friend who's on the phone, Colby, let us know if we are incorrect in our assumptions.
I also highly recommend setting up your database backup.
Oh, good call. Let's bring that up. Show that. By default, I believe it's on once a week, every Saturday. Is that correct?
Yep, sounds right.
Yes, there we go. You can modify this by clicking buttons over here, as Jordan's going to demonstrate with the highlighter,
That is
or clicking. Yeah.
At a schedule there, so you can set up when you want it to back up. I think by default it keeps 10 and does compress. There's quite a few settings to change that, but then you always have if it's backing up every day, you're keeping 10, you're not keeping a long history, so you want to kind of set it up to get the exact settings you're looking for there.
Right, and you also might want to be aware that right now it's backing up to Guinness here, the same machine, so were this machine to have a meteorite fall upon it, it would be gone regardless of your backup, so I might recommend pointing that backup location to, say, somewhere else. Just a thought. But just be aware that if you have a giant database, that the backup will take a little bit of time, and anyway. Yep. Yay.
Hey, Chris and Jordan, when deploying multiple applications to a computer at the same time, is there a way to sort the order in which they get installed once you have them selected and in the right-hand column? For example, to ensure that Mozilla Firefox gets installed before trying to install Adobe Flash for Firefox. Thanks, Jeremy O.
Jeremy O, hello.
So
Take it away.
I believe on this one, currently the order they are on the deployment is the order they're going to run. We don't have a way to prioritize with the deploy yet. I think we added prioritizing on scanning recently.
Yes, so if you're talking about here in the deploy once window, or let's just give two packages here. So we have Flash, and hey, we just got Firefox. If you do Shift select or Control select, the order you select them will be the order that deploys. So for example, I have Firefox selected, well now I have it selected. If you hold down Control key and I select Flash and I click deploy once, notice that Firefox shows at the top here. Right there. That will be installed and deployed to first. Like it's magic. You can also do the same thing in schedules. Mm-hmm. So if you were to create a new schedule with these, let's say instead of deploying them now, you want to create a schedule. So let's create a new schedule with these packages. I can come over here and determine the packages and the order that they're installed, or I can even attach new ones. Like I can attach my other package that says do the dir, which is just a single step that does a get child item and a PowerShell step. But if I wanted that to run first, I can move that to the top, and now that will deploy first prior to Firefox and then Adobe Flash for Firefox.
Yep. With the deploy once, we don't have the up and down arrows to reorder there, so if you do have the wrong order, if you remove one and re-add it, it will automatically go into the bottom. So you don't have to completely close it out, but if it's a jump, it's probably just easier to close and reopen.
Oh, yeah, speaking of which, deploy once window, you can actually do the same thing that I just showed you in a schedule. So you can even... Once you add to this, you can click choose packages and add, do the dir. And notice that it'll, like he's saying, do the dir. Yeah, good question.
Dear Chris and Jordan, I am fairly new to using PDQ. My director implemented it and has the most experience, so possibly a rookie question. What is the actual difference between scanning for heartbeat and scanning computer/collections? Other than obvious software options, does it ease network traffic and server workload? What are the benefits and disadvantages? Thanks, Timothy G.
So for me, I love heartbeat. Basically, the heartbeat is if you have a scan on on a schedule, the heartbeat means when it comes online. Next time the computer checks in, it will do the scan then, or the deployment. Where if it sounds like the scanning computer collections is more of at a very specific time.
Well, the first question I have here is, are you talking about the actual heartbeat itself? So if I right-click on a machine here, instead of doing heartbeat or to scan computers and collections, that's the direction that I took it, which seems to be a little bit different than Jordan. He's going to get into something I'm going to show here in a sec. But if you're talking about these options, a heartbeat is essentially just going out to ping the machine and say, are you alive? Are you there? Can I see you? And we use that for a couple different things in both programs, PDQ Inventory and PDQ Deploy, to determine, are you alive? Can I scan you? Can I deploy to you? Or in the case that Jordan was going to, can I trigger a heartbeat schedule based off the heartbeat? So in this case, that's what I think you're going for and you're asking about. The heartbeat here is just, again, seeing online, offline, whereas the scan computers or collection, and to establish the difference, when I do scan computer, it's only going to scan what computer or computers I have selected, whereas if I do scan collection, it'll scan the entire collection that is currently selected. And so in this case, if I was to scan the computer right now, the only one that's selected behind this menu right now is what, Beth? So if I do scan computers and choose the standard, or let's do an application scan, it's just going to scan Beth with the application scan. But what Jordan's talking about is in the case of, say, a scan profile, or even in deployment when you can do a schedule, you can take, for example, this applications, I'm just double-clicking on this, and add a trigger, and we have a bunch of triggers here. You can trigger once on an interval, weekly, monthly, whatever, or depending upon how old it is, the scan age, if it hasn't been scanned in 3 days and you want to scan it, you can do it with a scan age. Let's do that. I want to do it, make sure that if it's over 3 days old, it gets scanned, but then on top of that, this heartbeat scan, which you were talking about, this will make it so that anytime someone goes from an offline state to an online state, thus the heartbeat has now succeeded in finding you, it will trigger this scan.
Yep.
Cool?
Yep. Actually, reading through it, I think your interpretation is probably more accurate than mine. So.
But yeah, that's the difference. And there is less information that's passed over your network simply because the heartbeat is just saying, hey, are you there? Versus these scans when I'm actually going out and querying data, bundling it up, and sending it back. So
Just keep in mind that reboots may not trigger the heartbeat trigger.
Oh, yeah, good point.
If depending on how you have your heartbeat interval set up, it might not, the computer might finish rebooting before inventory sees that it ever went offline.
Yes, and can we show the screen again before we show this question real quickly? Just to show that heartbeat interval, just to what Colby's talking about here. In network, here we have the default, which is 300 seconds, so 5 minutes. It's going to scan, it's going to attempt a heartbeat on every machine in your database every 5 minutes to say, hey, are you still there? Hey, are you still there? So in this case, what Colby's talking about is if you have a fast machine, like you have solid state drives, if it reboots and comes back online within that interval, you won't see it ever. And so it's something to be aware of.
As far as inventory is concerned, it was always online.
Yeah, exactly, because we didn't scan it in that time. So there's stuff you can do, including a scan step or some other things you can do within the deploy. But anywho, thanks. Sorry. Then we can go back. Question. Yay.
Dear Chris and Jordan, who at the office would you least like to have to battle for the final bottle of scotch and why? Sincerely, the legendary Johnny Mathis.
So this is a nuanced question because if it was poor quality scotch, I don't think Shane would even be concerned about it, so he's out of the running. But if it's fine scotch, he is an avid fan and wields the most authority.
Says him. I mean, I that's a good question. It depends, because Scotch is not necessarily my favorite per se. I do love Japanese whiskeys, which a lot of times do follow kind of the Scotch preparation. And depending upon the Japanese whiskey, I will fight you to the death.
So the base answer is how motivated is Lex, because no one wants to fight him for anything here.
Oh, good call, good call. We'll all lose.
If Lex is motivated for it, he's getting it. If he's not motivated and it's a cheap scotch, then that removes two of them. But if it's a fine scotch Lex, I think that this would turn into
There's not a whole lot of fights that go on. This is kind of a
we need to test this.
Our solution to this would just be buy more scotch.
Buy more scotch. There you go. Yeah.
Great question.
That's a good point.
Hence scotch. All right.
Dear Chris and Jordan, is there any way to prevent another sysadmin from logging into the PDQ server and using the console login? I want to do a Jurassic Park lockout screen. No, every time he tries to use PDQ from the server. Sincerely, Jeremy C.
Didn't use the magic word or whatever it is that Nedry says.
So in this case, it sounds like it's not even an issue with the console user being added, but he has the credentials for the background service user.
Or the physical, the machine of the
yeah.
server. It could be physical or
Yeah,
It's time to change the password.
yeah. If they've got the credentials and the authority, it's hard to keep someone out.
Nah. Group policy. You can actually explicitly list who can and cannot log into a machine. Group policies, you're going to be your friend. You've probably already in your environment, or someone has, used group policy to say, hey, all y'all machines, I want this group or group of users to have local admin access. We do that. I know I do that in my past life. Just do the opposite and actually have it so that no one can remote into it. For being part of the administrators group or the remote desktop users group or whatever else groups can have access to that, and explicitly deny them via group policy. Yeah, that's how I would do it anyway. I don't have the group policy thing to show.
Hey, Chris and Jordan, is there a way to import a complete list of product keys from a CSV file and have them saved to the correct computer's profile? Right now, when I import the file, it doesn't recognize the computer name column and all the license import to the computer I am looking at. Thanks, Blake K.
This is going to require SQL, which means I'm moving out of the way of the keyboard.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, you're talking, so if I pull up a machine here, and you're looking at the product keys page, I'm going to make that a little bit smaller. This might be a little bit longer for a PDQ A, but I'm still going to show at least the general process I would do. Maybe I'll even write a blog on this. So we have, where am I at? Product keys. We have an import button here, but if I understand your concern or your challenge is if you have a CSV file with product keys for all your computers, for Beth, for Rick, for Morty, for everybody, if you click import that file, it's not going to just filter it down for Beth here. It's going to do all the keys for Beth. So the trick, there's no good way to do this within the program itself. So like Jordan's mentioning, you're going to have to manipulate the database. Fortunately, it's fairly straightforward. I'll show you the steps on how to get there. And then you can fill in the details or look forward to a blog that I may write. I'd like to. I guess maybe we will.
Or delegate someone to write?
Possibly. If I'm going to pull up SQL console, I can get a list of the tables that are there. Tables. Yeah. And with that, the tables which I'm going to be looking for, what were product keys, something related. I'm scrolling up, there it is. Product keys. So I'm going to see what's in there. I believe the command for that is, let's do .help. I think it's .schema. Yeah, .schema. And then product keys. That's how you create the table, and it has a identity column, has computer ID, vendor, product, key, version, all the stuff that it sounds like that was in that field. If we switch back to Beth's machine, all the fields that were here are just basically the fields that are in the database for that table product key. So knowing that and that it uses the computer ID, I can use SQL and PowerShell just because I like to organize it with PowerShell. So I'm going to open up the PowerShell ISE just because it's installed here. I don't think we have Visual Studio Code in here, and I'm not super comfortable in code yet because I am a grumpy old man who doesn't like to get with the times. So I'm going to find my DB location, and that's going to be what? C program, what is it? Program data, admin arsenal, PDQ inventory. Well, I should just do PDQ and tab. There we go. You can be outside, it's fine. And we're going to look for database. Yeah, it automatically fills by tab
I'm
things.
behind times.
Yeah. So here, the general way you can do this is just running SQLite3.exe, which is now part of your path after installing our programs, your app paths for the machine. So I can do SQLite3.exe, point it to the database, and then run a query. So in this case, let's say I wanted to run select star from computers, or yeah, just run that. And I'm going to run, and it's going to give me, wow, look at all that information that I didn't expect to see, but yeah, cool. There's a lot here. But what you're going to want to do in this particular case is identify the computer ID from the computers table. So computer ID, and since we're doing Beth, we'll just do computer IDs well, just do all of them actually. We're going to run, get all the computer IDs, and it's going to error because I misspelled something possibly.
Computer D.
Computered. I computered because I'm smart. Anyway, you can get all the IDs here. So the whole point I'm going to show here is this is going to be super fast because I don't want to spend too much time on this. You want to do get a file wherever you have your CSV file. So temp some file.csv, right? Here I'm going to do something like for each computer in file. I'm going to do some stuff. And the stuff I'm going to do here is I'm going to run the query to get a particular ID. So I want to get so we have my database up there. We want to get the ID. So computer ID equals, let's do the query that I want to run equals select computer ID from computers where name like, and I should probably do those in double quotes. Yeah, and in this case we're named like Beth, but if I'm pulling from that file, I'm going to want to do something like, whoa, typing on this keyboard's fun. File dot whatever the field name is inside the CSV file for the computer name. If it's computer name, well, it's going to be file dot computer name, or file dot name, or file dot whatever you call it, file dot fqdn, whatever. That's going to establish and run a query that says, get me the computer ID for the record that's like this particular name in this file that I'm now iterating through one by one, and then you can go through and update that record by saying insert into product keys where blah, and do all the fun stuff. Anyway, that's nerd blah blah blah. I will do actually, you know what, the more I think about it, I'm going to do a blog on this. I'm going to take way too much time to showcase this, and I don't want to. I'm sure half of you are bored.
Make sure if you are copying that you replace computer D with computer S.
Yep.
Or just type it like me and have a fun time. And then reach out to me and ask why it's broken, and I'll just reply saying it's because I'm broken.
Also, I like Jason Hanks's suggestion of just use a custom field import wizard.
Oh yeah, you can use custom import wizard and just store it in the custom fields, because we do have that. That is actually a great idea. So we have custom fields which you can define, so I can configure them and add any one of 5 different data types. And then once they're there, you can use the import wizard to point to the CSV file and then map them, the fields in your CSV to the fields of the custom fields that are available, and import it that way. The only caveat is then it's now going to be on the custom fields page rather than the product keys page. So either way, custom fields wizard's nice and easy, and you can use that from the command line with PDQ Inventory. So, anywho, great question. Sorry that I couldn't go into too much detail.
Hey, Chris and Jordan, is there any way to tie PDQ installs to a dynamic collection? So I have a workstation come online and get scanned by inventory, and it does not have a certain application installed, then install the application. Hope this makes sense. Clark Anderson B.
Right, so I guess if I understand, he's looking for when he runs a deployment, it only based on a collection that is updated based on what's on there, right?
I'm just going to jump in here and say, this is one of the reasons we have these applications is to do just this very thing, so we're going to show you.
Yep. So yeah, we actually do have something right in deploy where you can tie it into, with this an auto download.
What is an auto download?
Auto download is a package from our library that we update where when there's a new one, it will update for you based on a schedule that you've set or if you have manual approval once you approve it.
Yes, it's not even based on a schedule. It'll based on time. Well, I guess you can say schedule, never mind.
Yep, and it's been a while since I went in here. So if you come and look at that, this is the auto download. That's not when it will deploy. But so when you're going in there, you basically tie your auto deployment into a schedule, and the schedule can be tied to any dynamic collection that you've created.
Right. So in inventory, let's say you're looking at the collection library because you want to have Firefox. We had Firefox on here, so I'm expanding applications, internet browser. We have Chrome expanded, Firefox, and I'm curious about Firefox 64-bit because I think that's what I downloaded. If I want to target people who don't have Firefox 64-bit or an old version of Firefox 64-bit, what he's talking about is he can go create a schedule for this and do right-click, new schedule, yay. And then for targets, I'm going to not choose targets because that's a static list. I'm going to link to a PDQ inventory collection. And once this loads up, I'm actually going to link it to the collection library collection that I was just showing you. I'm going to expand that, applications, internet browsers, Firefox, 64-bit, this is exciting, and I can pick one. So in this case, not installed. If I want to pick this one, what that's going to mean is every time this schedule kicks off, it's going to check those collections and make them update. And when it does that, it's going to see who is the current active per their last scan that doesn't have Firefox installed. Then it's going to attempt to run the package well, in this case, Adobe Flash for Firefox because I selected the wrong one. So we can detach that one and attach the correct one because smart, and because it's so easy to change. And now we can make sure that this option, which is set by default, stop deploying to targets once they succeeded. That means that once it determines that it's been attempted to install and has successfully installed, it'll just stop. So anytime that it tries to run again for that target for this schedule, it'll stop. So it's kind of a nice little feature that we have here, but I think this is exactly what you're looking for. So targets, we're linking to the collection that you have made or a collection in our collection library that we keep up to date, and you can keep all these packages up to date. So now, I don't think I added a person, say a trigger. So let's say you said every time a machine comes online or whatever, heartbeat, cool. So it's been offline for a while. When it comes online, it's going to do it. Also, just to make sure we catch them if they're online and never go offline, we'll get them every week on Thursday. Nah, let's change it to Sunday. Because I'm like that. I want to break things right before we come in on a Monday. And that's it. Now we have a package that's unnamed, teehee, that will install Firefox on the machines that don't have Firefox installed. If they come online, get scanned, and don't have, or have been scanned, come online, don't have Firefox, boom, they're going to get Firefox.
So one gotcha with that is that collection is as current as your latest scan data.
Yes.
So you're probably going to want to be scanning for applications before that is running, whether it's on a similar schedule or you can do a scan step as a pre-step for the package
Yeah,
itself.
good call. That's a good one.
And it is time to start the speed round. Dear Chris and Jordan, I have a multi-step deployment, and it is linked with a schedule. If this deployment fails for some reason, the deployment starts from the first step. Is it possible to run the deployment from the failed step? Thanks, Faizan N.
I don't remember exactly which version we added that, but it is something we've added where you can return from failed step. I don't know if Colby remembers.
I think it was 15 or 16.
Something like that. So here, I'm just going to add a new, couple new steps here. For thing, can you just do type dir? Or actually, no, type exit 1. So we're going to arbitrarily say, send back an exit code of 1, and then here, just type dir. It's a really fancy package, I know. But let's deploy that. Actually, let's just redeploy it now to localhost. I'm just going to redeploy it first and show you, because it's going to fail at step 2, because we said exit 1, but we did not add one of the successful codes to include 1, so it's going to see the exit code of 1 and say, abort, retry, fail, and mostly fail.
Yeah,
So
there's the third.
what would you do from here?
You need to come in and, if you know it's something that was wrong with the package itself, you need to correct the package. If it's an issue where you just need to try redeploying it, you can just right-click and redeploy. But in this case, we need to change it to exit 0.
Well, before you do that, I think he's talking about redeploying from a failed steps, because he has a nested package, and it might fail for one of many reasons.
Yes.
And so if I click on the steps, you see it failed at step 2. Oh my goodness. Well, what if I was to right-click on this and just do redeploy from failed step, I think is what he's going for.
Which I was actually just going to correct the package itself so it could continue instead of
Oh,
failing
gotcha.
again.
We do things in different orders. We're very different people, as you've noticed. I like corgis. Jordan does not like corgis as much, probably.
So if we change that to exit 0, then if you did the redeploy from failed step,
So that it doesn't fail again, because it's smart.
and in this case, it will automatically choose, and you can see right there the step that it started on.
And you can change that even. You can even click on that step and point it to a different step if you want
If you just want to move past it straight to 3, you can also do that.
Yeah.
And then just deploy now, and then that one will complete. Well, it's still going to exit and not run the third step, but it won't fail.
Good question.
Also,
Next one.
Real quick, it is not possible to do that from a schedule automatically.
Correct. Yes, thank you.
You have to do it manually.
Hey, Chris and Jordan, I have a collection that tells me if certain users are logged in. Is there a way for this to email me when someone logs in? Thanks, Jason.
So unfortunately, it's whoever's logged in on the last scan. It's not a live update on that one. So if you scan and they're logged in, you could have it based on when you scan, on who's currently logged in. But when they log in, I don't think we have anything that will handle that need.
Nope, nothing native. Good question. Sorry. No.
Hey, Chris and Jordan, are we able to opt out of package library updates? For example, I use WSUS so I don't need to see the notifications for the Windows 10 updates. Not that it's difficult to clear them, just one more thing. Thanks, Doug K.
Hey, Doug. If you're talking about individual, like it sounds like select packages that you want to opt out of the notifications, no, it is not possible to opt out of particular package notifications. It's all or nothing.
Hey, Chris and Jordan, is it possible to add a column for IPv6 addresses? Faizan N.
I mean, should be if all the columns we have in there is just this upper window there where we can customize the grid. I'm not sure what the name for the IPv6 is.
I'm going to save Jordan a bit. We don't use IPv6 here, and so not often, so he probably hasn't encountered it recently. I had to go look at this myself. I was like, wait, did we capture that? I could remember. No, we just have the IP address field in it. I think it adds both IPv4 and IPv6 to the same field, if I'm correct, Colby?
In some situations it can. Sometimes it's just IPv6.
Or one or the other, right?
It's something like that.
Yeah, and so it's just the IP address column, but there's no necessarily distinction between IPv4 and IPv6. If it's using IPv6, like Colby's mentioning, and it's going to show that, if for some reason it uses both or something, no. You can, the thing that I usually dive into when I'm talking about this is inside the computer details window is the NICs, or let me be terrible and call it the NIC card section. Oh, that hurt. I'm sorry. And any information I want to get that's not the IP is going to be here, because unfortunately that's all the data that we have available. But at least I can start to specify and understand my environment a little bit better. But unfortunately for IPv6, no, nothing super outside the box like that.
Dear Chris and Jordan, I have nested packages that update machines on a heartbeat and a rolling daily schedule, 23 hours. They are configured to not run if a user is logged in, so there is no interruption to user workflow. Is there a way to configure the schedule and package to not show as failed if it does not execute due to a user being logged in? Also, the nested package has many steps. Can it be configured to not show failed if no steps meet the conditions in the steps? Thanks, Billy Z.
So probably the best way is if it finds the condition someone is logged in. What we showed earlier where we had like exit 0, you can specify a certain code and put it in an approved as a success code. Then it won't say a failure, but it will still stop if that's what you're looking for.
If this is a collection, like a condition for the package that's checking to see a collection.
For a condition instead of the actual deployment.
Right. No, it's going to just show condition failed. Like it failed to pass the condition, and thus it'll show as a failed step. Am I right, Colby?
I believe so. If you set the error mode to continue, I don't remember if that applies to conditions or not. I kind of think it works.
It might.
But I think for the exact thing they're asking for, the answer is no.
Yeah. The way that Jordan's going off is please continue, is for something related.
Yeah, so
similar.
instead of based on conditions is if the step is running. So if within a step you had of PowerShell it was checking for a user logged in, if it does find it, you could exit with a code, 15, and add it to the success codes down here.
Sure.
And it will still fail and exit, but it won't give it a failure. It'll just say it stopped.
Well, it'll actually say it's success.
Yeah.
And continue. The error code, where'd my mouse go? For the step, I can change this to be continue. It'll show a warning if it did fail, but it'll still continue on. Or if I'm expecting an error, I can change it to be stop deployment with success. And then only when it doesn't get the error I'm expecting do I want it to break. And there's some very, very specific use cases for that. So just play around with it. If you have any questions, reach out to us. We're happy to help. I mean, they're there, but it can get complicated pretty quickly.
And another question from Billy Z. Does PDQ integrate with any HelpDesk tools? I'd like to have our HelpDesk see some inventory information and trigger some deploy packages, but they don't need everything. Thanks in advance, Billy Z.
No. I mean, we pull data in from Spiceworks.
Yeah, but I think that's we
that's
pull
about as
data
close
in,
as
we
we
don't
get.
share it out.
Yeah, but they don't integrate like with us. They don't pull our information in that I'm aware of. I mean, maybe there's an add-on that someone has on some help desk solution that maybe does that. I don't know. Not that I know of.
You're
I'd be
gonna have to make
surprised.
a request of Spiceworks.
Yeah,
Control that.
that's. But if your help desk solution allows anything custom, we do have command line stuff that's available. So if I'm just going to pull up a command line here, and then from here, if you just type PDQ deploy space help, you'll see that we have some commands here for deploy, and you can even type the same thing for inventory and get help to trigger a package, to trigger a scan, to trigger a schedule, to clean up your database, optimize your database, all the things. Or even what I talked about earlier when we were talking about product keys but putting them in the custom fields to import in the custom field wizard. You can do all this from the command line. So if the help desk system allows you to do to call like a command line utility or like run a batch file or a PowerShell script, yeah, you can actually trigger some of the functionality in deploy your inventory from that and even pull it in. So there's that. That's about all I can think of.
You are going to want to make sure that the licensing, if you have multiple admins that are sending deployments, I believe there's an extra licensing cost for that.
Yeah.
But you can email us for that information.
Yeah, for clarification.
Yep.
Cool.
All right. Well, thanks for all the questions.
Yeah, they're fun. We always enjoy these. Feel free to queue up your questions for next time because I love them. But yeah, thanks for watching.
Thank you. I'm Jordan.
I'm Chris, PDQ.com.
Thanks for joining our webcast today. Congratulations, Mark K. and Timothy G., winners of PDQ swag. Send us your info with webcast at pdq.com. Thanks again for joining us. If you have additional questions, feel free to reach out to our support forums, and we'll see you back here next week.